Good morning, students. Myself, Jesna Varghese. I would be teaching you the economics subject for this academic year. Your syllabus starts with the first chapter as Economics and Introduction. This is part 1 video. So now let's begin. Before starting this video, I would advise each and every student to wear your headphones and also keep open your economics textbook open and thereby start the video. So let's begin. Let's start with the introduction. Human beings are intellectual creatures and thus they are able to group, distinguish and examine their surroundings and environments. To ensure happy living, they have created various institutions like the social, political and economic systems. So what it is saying that human beings are an intellectual creatures, means they try to think what they are doing and whatever they are seeing. So they are using their mental capabilities and thus they are able to group themselves, or you can say distinguish themselves, and then examine their surroundings and the environment also. Now to ensure their happiness, that is to have a happy life, or you can say to lead a happy life, they have created various institutions like which are they? Those institutions, social, political and economic systems. In order to understand such systems significantly, sustain them over a long period of time and to resolve the complexities in such system, human beings formulated certain principles based upon various philosophies and science. Now, after the creation of such institutions, now to sustain such institutions for the longer period of time and also to resolve the complexities, that is any conflicts or conflict that is happening in this institutions, then to solve such complexities or the contradicts what they are formulated, they have formulated some of the principles, and now these principles are based on the various philosophies and science. Clear? Now, in the prehistoric and in the earlier historic periods, human beings dealt with differences and solved certain complexities by entering in feuds, fights and battles. Now, what it is saying that in the prehistoric, that is in ancient times, that is in earlier times, human beings, what they were doing, they used to solve any kind of problems by entering into a quarrel, okay, or a bitter quarrel or any harsh arguments or fights, battles or wars. So these were the things that they were used to solve any kind of the problems that they face, any kind of complexities that they face, they find a solution by getting into a fight. Now, however, with the development and progress of civilization, human beings were able to logically resolve differences and complexities of life by creating and using philosophical principles. Now, this fight, war and everything that took place in the earlier historic period. Now, what happened? There was a development and there was progress of civilization taking place in the economy. So, human beings were now developed. Now, what they are doing, they are logically resolving. That is, they are not getting into fight easily. They are resolving it logically and finding out the differences and complexities of life by creating and using the philosophical principles. Now, they are using which principle? Philosophical principles. And economics developed as a philosophy and science of rational economic behavior. Now, thereby this economics developed as a philosophy and also a science of rational economic behavior. So this was the introduction of this economics. Now let's come to the meaning of economics. So the word economics in Indian thought is Arthashastra, which is derived from the Sanskrit word arth, meaning purpose or goal. Now, from ancient time only, this economics has been developed. Okay, that has been derived. Now, this Indian word is, that is the Sanskrit word of economics, is said to be Arthashastra. Now, arth means purpose or goal, and thus Arthashastra in Sanskrit means the science of benefits or purpose in practical life. Okay, so what in Sanskrit this Arthashastra means? The science of benefits, any kind of benefit or any kind of purpose in the practical life of a human being is said to be Arthashastra. Clear? It describes that the purpose of human behavior is to seek the benefits. So what it is describing according to the Sanskrit word Arthashastra, that any purpose of the human being or a human behavior is to seek any kind of benefits that is benefiting this human being. Clear with this? Now, the English word of economics is derivative from the Greek word oikonomos. Oikos means households and nomos means management, and hence economics means management of households. So, in Sanskrit word, that is from in India, the Sanskrit word of economics is said to be Arthashastra, and in English, it is the word economics. It came from the Greek word that is known as oikonomos, whereby oikos means household. Any household thing is said to be oikos, and nomos means management. That is management of this household. Say for an example, let me take my household income. Okay, so my income is something that is related to my household things. Okay, so management of my income. Say for an example, if my income is 5,000 rupees. So how I am going to manage my income of 5,000 rupees to meet my different expenses. So I have to manage it properly. If I don't manage it, in the end of the month, I would be having no savings. Okay, so which would lead me to a misery. So that is not proper. So I have to manage my income properly. So economics is something which is there and used in the day-to-day life of a normal person also, even my and your life. So economics is something which is related to each and every person. Knowingly or unknowingly we are using this. Clear with this? Now come to the economics in Indian thought, the next topic. Now, what is economics according to the Indian thought? The history of Indian culture is almost more than 5,000 years old. So, history of Indian culture is 5,000 years old. So, clear? And thus, Indian philosophy depicts various aspects of human life and provides insights into a way of life. So, the four Purusharthas, that is purposes of human being. So, what is the four purposes of a human being? In Sanskrit, it is said as Purusharthas. In Indian philosophy are, first is Dharma, that is righteousness or duty. Any kind of duty is said to be in Sanskrit word as Dharma. Second purpose of human life is Arth, that is purpose, or you can say benefit or wealth. So Arth is related to any purpose, any benefit or any wealth. So this is second purpose of human being. And the third one is Kama, that is desire. Any wish that you have or a human being have. So that is the third purpose. And the fourth purpose of human being is Moksha, that is liberation. And the activities of life done for earth are the subject matter of economics. Any activity done with the purpose of obtaining some benefit is called an economic activity. and it is one of the 4 goals or duties of a human being to create wealth as a means of living and for material pleasures. In other words, perform activity for benefits. It is so clear. Again, I am repeating. Any activity that has been done by any human being whose purpose is to get some or the other benefit, then that activity is said to be an economic activity. Is it true? Yes. If a person works for or is employed in a company, so why he is working over there in that company? Obviously to earn money. So some benefit he is getting in that. Yes. So that is why such an activity is said to be an economic activity. Clear? And it is also one of the 4 goals or duties of a human being to create wealth. So what he is earning? He is earning money. Yes. So indirectly he is increasing or creating his own wealth. Yes. Which is a means of living. Wealth is necessary to have his living and for material pleasures also. So by earning, what he does, he can have other material pleasures. Yes, he can have good food, good clothing, etc. So what he is doing? He is doing that work in the company, thereby having some wealth, that is creating his wealth, and this wealth which would lead him to have a better living and also to enjoy some other material pleasures in his life. So such an act is said to be an economic activity. Clear with this? Now, 2500 years ago, Kautilya, who is also known as Chanakya, discussed in his book Arthashastra the purpose of economic activity undertaken by a state and society. So, 2500 years ago. Who is known as the Chanakya? Kautilya. Kautilya in his book, what was the name of the book? Arthashastra. That is the purpose of economic activity. This activity was undertaken by a state and the society. Now, according to the Kautilya, the intention of a human being is earth. That is any human intention. The foremost intention is earth. That is wealth. The piece of land which has human settlement is earth. So, any piece of land that is having the human settlement is said to be earth, that is wealth, and thus the science explaining the purpose and utility of wealth creation on earth is called economics. I hope this is clear to you. Now, this was according to the Indian thought. Now, let's read about the development of economics as a science in the West. Now, what the West people had a thought about this economics. Now, Greek philosopher Aristotle gave his views on economics in his book O Economica. So, this Aristotle, that is the Greek philosopher, he gave his views in his book O Economica. Now, however, with the advent of Industrial Revolution, just as division of labor and specialization were introduced in the industrial sector, that is, where a piece of work is done by a worker or a group of workers who specialize only in that particular job. The knowledge of philosophy also started getting classified into various specialized sciences. Now, what it is saying in the para, that when the arrival of Industrial Revolution took place, what happened? There was division of labor. So, what it is saying, that division of labor means a particular person or a group of workers, you can say, are now being specialized in their own particular job. Suppose if a carpenter, he is specialized in making different furnitures. He may not know how to treat a person who is sick. Okay, so there was division of labor. And specializations also taking place in this when there was arrival of Industrial Revolution. I hope this Industrial Revolution is clear to you, where a piece of work is done by a worker or a group of workers who only specializes in their own particular job. So what happened when this took place, that is the Industrial Revolution took place? The knowledge of philosophy, that is the economics. I said earlier that economics were used as a philosophy. So this economics as a philosophy, now the knowledge of this philosophy now got classified into various specialized science. Okay, so now there was subsections or specializations taking place in the various sections of this economics. Now, like the physical sciences, the social science also developed. So, when there was along with this physical sciences, there was development taking place. There was development taking place in the social science also, as specialized branches and their methodologies were no longer based purely upon descriptive logic. So, earlier there was descriptive logic. The logic they used in that methodology were purely descriptive insights. But these sciences started applying scientific tools and methods. Now, there was no descriptive logic, but in that place, what took place? The scientific tools and various methods took place. Clear? Hence, studying purposeful human activity was not solely a subject matter of political or social philosophy, but it also developed as an independent science. And pondering upon the creation of wealth, Adam Smith wrote in 1776 a book titled An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of Wealth of Nations. So, Adam Smith in the year 1776 wrote a book that is having the title An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of Wealth of Nations. Now this book is popularly known as Wealth of Nations. So this could be coming in your MCQ question that who wrote the Wealth of Nations. So you have to write as Adam Smith. This is one of the popular book that he wrote. With this book, Adam Smith is known to have pioneered the development of economics as a specialized area of knowledge in the West. So what it is saying by this book? Which book? Wealth of Nations. By writing this book by Adam Smith, he was the initial person, that is the foremost one to create the development of economics as a specialized area of knowledge in the West. Industrial Revolution created a new socio-economic way of life and new methods of wealth creation with the introduction of machines and huge investment in means of mass production. So, there was, due to this advent, you can say arrival of this industrial revolution, what took place? There was introduction to machines and various huge investment in the means of mass production. So, this all took place because of this industrial revolution. Now, let's come to the definitions that has been given by various economists. So, the foremost one is the Adam Smith. Now, Adam Smith's definition was something which is related to wealth. Now, let's read out. Economics is the study of the nature and causes of wealth of nations. So, I said earlier, economics, what he is saying, Adam Smith, that economics is the study of the nature. It is something which is, you have to study about the nature and the causes, that is the reasons of wealth of the nations. In bracket, economics studies the exchange of physical wealth produced by labor. Now, Adam Smith introduced economics as a social science. Now, Adam Smith is introducing economics as a social science because on the one hand, he studied human efforts and on the other hand, his methodology was scientific. So, on his study, what he is saying, on one hand, he is studying the human efforts and the other hand, the methodology was scientific methodology that he used in his study. Since the times of Adam Smith, economics was studied as an independent science and not as a part of general philosophy. So, during the time of this Adam Smith, This economic subject was studied as an independent science and not as a part of the general philosophy. So it was not considered as a part of general philosophy. It was just studied as an independent science. In a way, he talked about human welfare only in his book. Now, what is the main point about Adam Smith is that he only talked about the human welfare, human wealth, like this. So he only taught us about the human welfare in his book. Thereby his book title is named as Wealth of Nations, because he has only concentrated on the wealth that is created in the nation or by the individuals. Clear? Now, the second economist is Alfred Marshall. So, definition of economics by Alfred Marshall. Let's study that. Now, he is someone who says about the welfare of the human being. Now, let's read out. In his book, Principles of Economics, published in 1890, Alfred Marshall defines economics is the study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. So you have to remember this definition by Alfred Marshall. Economics is the study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. It implies that in everyday life, people usually seek material well-being. That is what he is saying. That he wrote a book. Which book it was? Principles of Economics. That was published in which year? 1890. You have to remember this years also, and also the definitions particularly given by these economists. So he says that is Alfred Marshall says that economics is something that is the study of the mankind, that is the human being. It is something, the study of a human being in the ordinary business of life, that is implying in everyday life of people who usually seek the material well-being. Okay, we all are human beings. We all usually seek the material well-being. Obviously, we seek the facilities we want. We want every kind of facilities. Yes. So, any material well-being, the study regarding that is said to be an economics in terms of Alfred Marshall. Thus, this definition identifies economics as the study of everyday activity of human beings and seeks to explain how well-being is attained from material consumption. So, according to him is that he identifies the economics as the everyday activity of human being. That is the study of everyday activity of a human being. What usually a human being does in his everyday, day-to-day activity, and also explain how well-being is attained from material consumption. Say for an example, if I purchased a car, so how happy I am by using that car? Yes, obviously I would be happy because I can I would be using this car for the long distance travels, and it means I can have a luxury life by using that material. Okay, that material consumption, I am very much satisfied by consuming that material. Or you can say good food. Okay, so good food will make your life more happy. So any activity, it could be food, clothes, shelter, or any kind of luxury items that is related to your welfare. Okay, so a house, that is something related to your welfare. If there is no house, how could a man lead a happy and a normal life? Yes, house is something that you need in day-to-day life. Obviously, house is something that is necessary in your life. So, and the happiness that you have by consuming the good food or good clothes like this. So, that is why it is saying that it explains how well-being is attained from such material consumption. This definition is narrow as it talks only about the material consumption or material well-being. Yet, it is important as it keeps human well-being at the center of the human activity. Now, what this definition is? Again, it is said to be a narrow because it only talks about the material consumption and the material well-being. See, only car won't make me happy. Only food won't make me happy. Only clothes won't make me happy. There is something other. Okay, along with food, I also need clothes. Also need the luxury items. Also need a shelter. everything should be there, not only a particular thing. So not only any material well-being would make me happy, there is also other important things that is to be taken into consideration. But also this material is said to be the center of the human activity. So food, again, it is the center of a human activity. Without food no one can live. Okay, without shelter it cannot be imagined also. So again it is saying that it is something which is the center of the human activity. So clear with this definition of economics by Alfred Marshall. Now come to the third economist, that is Lionel Robbins. Definition of economics by Lionel Robbins. Now any field of science deals with a problem, question, and economics deals with the question how to allocate limited resources which have alternative uses in the satisfaction of recurring and unlimited human wants in order to increase the well-being in a society. Now, Lionel Robbins is someone who says about the scarcity of the resources and the human behavior towards such scarce resources. Now, human wants, what do you think? Human wants are always unlimited. Okay, there is no limit for a human want. But according to the human want, there is scarcity of resources. The resources towards this to meet such wants of a human is always a scarce thing, that is limited only. But human wants are unlimited. So how to allocate such limited resources which have the alternative uses in the satisfaction of recurring and unlimited human wants in order to increase the well-being. So limited resources is there, but how to allocate such limited resources, and these limited resources are also having the alternative uses also. So in order to satisfy such unlimited wants with comparison to the limited resources, and you also have to increase the well-being of a well-being in a society also. So these things are taken into consideration. That is, first is limited resources. Second, that is these limited resources have the alternative uses also. And the third thing is that the human wants are unlimited. But you have to satisfy such human wants, and also along with that you have to increase the well-being in the society. So this is something which Lionel Robbins is focusing in. Understood? So hence in 1931, Lionel Robbins in his book Nature and Significance of Economics gave the following definition. So Lionel Robbins wrote a book named as Nature and Significance of Economics. In which year? 1931. So his definition was, economics is the science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which have alternative uses. So I explained earlier, economics according to Lionel Robbins is something that a science. It is a science which studies, okay, it focuses on the human behavior as a relationship between the ends and scarce means the resources, and these resources which are having the alternative uses. Clear with this? Human wants are unlimited and most wants keep on recurring. So human wants are, as I said, is always unlimited, and most of the wants keep on recurring. Recurring means repeatedly they come and go. So on the other hand, resources which help in satisfying human wants are limited and have alternative uses. Now on the other hand, what it is saying, the resources which is there in order to meet the human wants are limited in nature. Okay, so these resources which can satisfy human wants are limited, but are also having the alternative uses also. So hence economics must deal with the problem of allocation of scarce resources in the satisfaction of human wants to the maximum possible extent. So economics is something which must deal with the problem of the allocation of this scarce, that is limited resources, how you have to allocate this economics has to deal with, okay, in order to satisfy the unlimited human wants to the maximum possible extent. Clear with this? Now, according to Robbins, economics is a positive science and does not prescribe how things should be. It studies how human beings behave and does not deal with how they should ideally behave. Hence, economics does not deal with norms and thus is not a normative science. So, according to Robbins, that is Lionel Robbins, he says that economics is a positive science, but it does not prescribe or describe how things should be. He is not saying that how the things should be like this or like that, but it says that it studies that how human beings behave according to this. If there is any limited resources and there is any arising human want, so to satisfy such a human want, how human beings should behave with such limited resources, that is studied in the economics according to the Robbins. I hope it is clear to you. And does not deal with how they should ideally behave. So there is no ideal behavior like this only you have to behave when there is a scarce in the resources or when there is a limit in the resources. So there is no one saying that like this it should be your behavior when there is a limited resource. No, it is as a study of how human beings may automatically behave when there is a limited resources. So hence economics does not deal with norms and thus is not a normative science. So economics is not something which is dealing with any kind of norms, that is rules. So that is why it is not a normative science. I hope this is clear to you. Now come to the last topic of this today's session, that is definition of economics by Paul Samuelson. Now Paul Samuelson's definition is something which is related to the modern or the growth related. So in his book Foundations of Economic Analysis, so he wrote a book named as Foundations of Economic Analysis, which was published in 1947. Now in that book Samuelson defines the economics as economics is the study of how people and society end up choosing. So line by line I am explaining to you that according to Samuelson, he says that economics is something that is a study. Now what it studies the choices of people and the society, how they end up choosing anything. It could be with or without the use of money. So it could be encashed or it could not be encashed. Then to employ scarce productive resources. That is you have to employ any scarce means any limited productive resources that could have alternative uses. So this resource is also having any other alternative uses to produce various commodities over time. So with this limited resources which is having the alternative uses also to produce various commodities also over the time, and then distributing them for the consumption. After that production you have to distribute also, and thereby distributing it is also then being consumed by the society or the people itself, now or in the future. So at present or maybe in the future among the various persons in the society, as I said earlier, among the people themselves only. So again I am repeating, Samuelson says that economics is the study of how people and society end up choosing. So it is studying how people and society, their choices are, how they are choosing this limited resources. It could be with money or without money to employ this limited, that is scarce productive resources which are having, now these resources are having the alternative uses to produce various commodities over time and then distributing them for consumption, maybe at present or in the future among various persons in the society. So it analyzes costs and benefits of improving patterns of resource allocation. Hence, Samuelson talks about choice, allocation of scarce resources, and evaluation of cost and benefits of doing so. So, what according to Samuelson, he says about the choice, how people and society are choosing, how they are allocating such scarce resources, and then after allocation, after the production, after the distribution, everything, how they are evaluating the cost and the benefits that they are obtaining, that is after consumption, what benefits and what satisfaction they are getting after the production and this distribution. So these all things something which is related to the growth of the economy, or you can say this is related to the modern economy. Okay, so all these definitions in a way commonly point out that economics studies human behavior, is positive in nature, adopts scientific methods and methodologies. Thus, it is a social science. So, from all the definitions, that is, we have learned 4 definitions by 4 economists. Which were they? First one was Adam Smith, second one was Alfred Marshall, third one was Lionel Robbins, fourth one was by Paul Samuelson. So, from all these definitions, what is the conclusion? So, conclusion is something which is common in each economic studies, that is, it studies about the human behavior. So, in every definition, that is in 4 definitions we learned, that is economics is something which studies the human behavior. Whether it is wealth, whether it is welfare, whether it is human behavior in during the scarcity, or related to the consumption, production and distribution. So, anything it could be, it always studies the human behavior. That is, economics is something which studies the human behavior and is also something which is positive in nature. We are only concentrating on the positive side, not the negative one. And the third one is adopting some scientific methods and methodologies. Thus, we can say it is a social science. Clear with this? So students, I hope today's session was clear to you. Now in the next session, we would be continuing with the next topic, that is economic activity and non-economic activity. Till then, stay safe and stay tuned with me with the next sessions. Thank you.